Hey guys, it's Casera, and today I'm going to be doing my September week 4 reading vlog. So it's Saturday, September 21st, and I'm going to start off by talking about the books that I'm currently in the middle of. So the first book I'm reading is Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor. This is for the Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon. This is my book from Africa. I'm about halfway through it right there, page 181. I'm enjoying this book, but it's taking me forever to get through it. For some reason with this book, 30 pages is kind of like my limit before my mind starts like wandering away from it and things like that. I think it's just not typically the type of book that I would normally pick up, and that's why I'm having difficulty with it. But I do really like the way the writing is done. It's an alien invasion book set in Nigeria, which is interesting, in the island of Lagos. I think it's an island, which is why it's called Lagoon. So far I'm enjoying this. I don't know how this is gonna go. Hopefully I can finish it early this week because I was reading it basically all of last week. The other book I'm currently reading is 10,000 Skies Above You by Claudia Grant. This is the second book in the Firebird trilogy, and I'm enjoying this way more than I was expecting to. This is my audiobook right now. I had planned to read this for the readathon, if not for any of the specific goals or anything like that. It's just sci-fi that I've been meaning to read, and they do visit a lot of different countries also, so like it kind of works for the readathon also. So far I'm really enjoying this one a lot more than I was expecting to. I think every time it's like a romance fueled YA book, I am automatically like, no, I'm not gonna like it, but like I'm actually really enjoying this. I think part of the reason why I'm enjoying this book is because the love interest is actually away for most of the book. They're not just like not communicating or something like that, you know how most conflicts are in love stories. So I enjoy that, and I also really like the plot of this book. For some reason this series always like surprises me with the plots, and I'm excited to see where this one goes. I'm actually almost done with the audiobook, so I'm really excited to continue on. I finished 10,000 Skies Above You by Claudia Grant. For those of you who don't know, this series is exploring the multiverse theory, the idea that like every choice that you make, there's another world in which you've made that choice. So there are like an infinite number of dimensions of the world. And in this series, there's this technology called the Firebird that lets someone transfer their consciousness into another of themselves in another dimension, and then they can transfer back to themselves, obviously. The main character of the series gets to go to like other worlds, and I really love many of the other worlds that she goes to. It's really creatively done, which I really enjoyed. And like most YA, there's a romance in here, but I can actually like root for this romance, and it doesn't overtake the plot line. The plot in this book is so good. This is the second book in the series. I don't want to go too far into it just because spoilers everywhere, especially for the first book. Like the first book in the series surprised me so much towards the end, and then this one also had some really great reveals towards the end that I really enjoyed, and I really loved the very last chapter. Like it makes me really want to pick up the next book in the series. Like I'm really close like to just grabbing it. There are other books that I want to read first for the Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon, and just like other books in general that I want to read first. I'm like itching to go pick that book off of my shelf right now, just because I'm really excited for the ending of this series. I definitely ended up really enjoying this, and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. It's Sunday, September 22nd, and yesterday I started the audiobook for The Amber Spyglass by Pullman. This is the third book in the His Dark Materials trilogy. I kept it until the second half of the month because it's like sort of sci-fi, so it kind of fit in with the readathon, even though it doesn't like really fit any of the goals for the readathon or anything like that. But I did really want to read this book this month. I read The Subtle Knife last month, so I was just like really ready to move on to The Amber Spyglass because that's the last one in the series. And so far I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to see where that one's going. Last night, I did have some time for physical reading. My only physical book last night was Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor, and for some reason, I'm just not feeling to pick that book up. Like I have no drive to read that book. So instead, I decided to pick back up Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. So I put this book on hold in the week before last because of the Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon. Yesterday, I wanted a heavily romance-fueled YA fantasy. I don't know why, like I'm never in the mood for that, but for some reason I was in the mood for that, and I knew this one had a romance in it, and I had already started this book like a little while ago, so I decided just to pick this one back up. While there wasn't a whole lot of romance, at least in the section that I read, because I'm now like halfway through it, like right about there, I am enjoying this one. The thing is, when I first started reading this one, it was giving me kind of like Chamber of Secrets vibes, which was like the whole, you know, Harry sneaking out at night to visit the restricted section, you know, the basilisk looming through the castle. Like, it was giving me those sort of vibes, which I was really enjoying. This time around when I picked it up, it gave me more Ella Enchanted vibes. Not Ella Enchanted the book, Ella Enchanted the movie. Basically, it has a very interesting and well-built world, but it ruins it by trying to modernize certain aspects of it to make it more relatable, but it just kind of ruined the world for me when you do that. Like, there's a press conference and things like that. The mean girl aspect of it. I mean, it's like, that's a very side part of it. But at the same time, the way they speak and things like that are just a little too modern for the time period that this is really supposed to be set in, if you know what I mean. So that is a little annoying to me, but so far I'm enjoying it. I just really wanted to be in a YA fantasy. This one worked for me. Obviously, I'm not done with it. I will be continuing on with this one. I forgot, but I'm traveling for work this week. I'll be here today, but tomorrow I'm driving up to my alma mater to do some college recruiting. So I will be doing that, and that should be interesting. So we'll see if we get any vlogging done. Probably from the hotel room. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna take the camera outside yet. I'm just not ready for that yet. But that also means I'm gonna have a lot of time for audiobooks. So I know I said I was gonna read City in the Middle of the Night physically, but I might end up reading it on audio just because I can't take that many books with me when I go. So I haven't decided which books I'm taking and which ones I'm not. I'll be gone for like 2 days. It's Monday, September 21st. I've made a bit of progress on both of my physical books last night. So for Lagoon, I actually had no difficulty reading this one yesterday, which is interesting because when I had difficulty reading this book, I was really enjoying it. And now that I'm not having that much difficulty reading it, I'm not enjoying it as much. I don't know what it is about this book, but I think it's like the characters. I think that's what it is, because you don't get enough of one character to become really attached to them. And then like last night, the section I was reading, there were multiple first-person points of views. For pretty much all the first-person points of views, they were from different characters' perspectives that we had never met before. So we were meeting an entirely new character right away and just like going through their story of what happened before the alien invasion and what's going on with them now during the alien invasion. You just get like this snapshot. I didn't get to care for the character at all during that snapshot, and then it was gone, if you know what I mean. So there's a lot of characters being introduced, and I'm not sure how they're actually related to the story. I feel like it's more like when you see a movie and you see like this random character on the side during this like horrific event. It feels a little bit more like that, but this is a really short book to be just doing so many characters at once. I just feel like there's not enough detail with each of the characters, if that makes sense. I still have quite a bit to go, but I'm hoping that I can finish this over the course of the next couple of days or so. Then there's Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is another one where like I'm enjoying this book while I'm reading it, but at the same time, my mind keeps going, this has so much potential and it could be so much better than it actually is, and then it's just not there. It's another one where I feel like the plot is a little all over the place. That's how I feel about like all of the books I'm reading right now. I'm not really sure like where the plot's going in any of these books, but like this one, I have a little bit more of an idea of it. The different places the plot's going sometimes feels a little convenient to me. Like I don't have the motivation from the characters to see why they're doing things the way they're doing it, if that makes sense. I don't know. I am enjoying this one though, and if I turn off my brain, I can enjoy this one a lot. But like, if I start thinking while I'm reading this book, I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. For example, there's a section in the beginning where our main character, Elizabeth, overhears the conversation between two other characters. During this time, she's supposed to be like glamored or something like that. She can see through the glamour, which is fine. The thing that I thought was weird is that one of the characters specifically glamours her and takes her to a room and then continues to have a conversation with another character that they don't want her to hear. And then they just randomly leave her in the room and don't do anything with her. So why did they specifically choose to glamour her and take her to that room? There was like no reason for it. It felt like it was just a plot convenience so that she can overhear these two characters making this conversation that was actually relevant to the plot. But there was no reason for that first character to glamour her and put her in that room. Like there was no reason for it. So like things like that just seem a little too convenient for me, just because like the other two characters could have had that conversation and she could have just overheard them or something, just been in the other room. But like one character went out of their way to glamour a character for no reason. It didn't make sense to me. Like, it legitimately didn't make sense to me. And then there are other instances, not as bad as that, I would say. I think because of that incident, I don't trust this book enough to, like, just suspend my disbelief completely, which is why I'm having more difficulty with this one than I typically would with YA fantasy. And lastly, we have The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. I was hoping that this one would be the one that I just love right now, and it's not, which makes me sad. All of the like separate plot lines I like individually. I'm not seeing how they connect together, like in any way. Like I kind of see it, but at the same time, feels a little convenient to me. I don't know, maybe I'm going into a reading slump and that's why everything is just like not there for me, but I think I'm gonna have to start picking up some high fantasy. I know I said I wouldn't read really that much during the Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon, that I would read all of my sci-fi books first at least. If I'm not gonna like the sci-fi books because I'm slipping into a slump, then I need to go back to, you know, my comfort zone a little bit. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna be traveling though, so I don't have a lot to carry with me, but I might just do it on audio or whatever. We'll see. I'll check in with you guys probably when I get to the hotel tonight. Okay, so I finished The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. I didn't like the ending any more than the rest of it. Like, I enjoyed the ending, and I think I mostly enjoyed it because I've liked the previous books in the series. But this book, I don't know, it just like, I felt meh about the whole book. Like, I enjoyed it because it was Lyra and it was Will, but the actual plot of this book, I didn't really care for, and I didn't really care for any of the other characters either. So I ended up giving it 3.5 stars because I still enjoyed it. I still like this series, but this particular book I didn't have very strong feelings for. I decided instead of going to fantasy, I'll stick with sci-fi, but I'll stick with sci-fi that's like more in my comfort zone than what I've been picking up for the readathon. So I picked up The Fate of the Tearling by Erika Johansson. This is the third book in the Queen of the Tearling series, so obviously I've read the first two books in the series, and I'm excited for the last book because I've been enjoying the series. I haven't been giving it anything more than 4 stars, like it's a solid 4-star series for me, but I really like Kelsey, the main character of the series, and I'm excited to see where the series ends up, so I'm definitely excited for this one. I'm sorry if my camera's shaking a lot. I don't have a good place to put my tripod in here because I brought my travel tripod, which is like super short, and yeah, it's like there's just not a good setup in the hotel room, but I will try and do better tomorrow, I promise. All right, that's all I have for you guys, and I'll check in with you guys later. Okay, it's Tuesday, September 24th. I've made some progress on the Fate of the Tearling by Erika Johansson. I don't know what's wrong with me though. Like, I'm just like not into it, which is weird because I was super into Invasion of the Tearling, but for some reason I'm just like zoning out while I'm listening to the audiobook, and then like I have to go back and reread chapters. I really just don't care what's going on. Like everything I'm reading right now, I'm just kind of like, I don't care. For my physical book, I've been reading Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Roberson, and I got to this point where my mind just went, the plot is so stupid. I was so frustrated with it. Like, the idea of what is going on is so interesting and good. This book has so much potential. The way they decide to deal with their antagonist is how you would deal with like a high school bully, not an evil sorcerer. It doesn't make any sense, and I have a feeling like that it's just gonna work and it's not gonna be an issue. Like, that's where I see this going. I'm just really frustrated with everything right now. So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try and do something that I've only seen other people do, but I've always been like really hesitant on doing, and that's slogging while driving. Like, I finished work travel yesterday, so I'm driving back home. So we'll see how this goes. I'm looking at the road, so that's why I'm not looking at the camera. I don't even know if I'm in frame, so hopefully I'm in frame. I think I spoke too soon yesterday with Sorcery of Thorns. Like, the plot is not stupid. Their plan was just stupid, and I felt like someone should have said, like, this is a stupid plan, you know what I mean? And it's never gonna work, but I don't know, the characters don't seem very smart to me. I'm almost done with Sorcery of Thorns now, so I'm excited to finish that one. It's still like, I'm very hot and cold cold with that book. There's some sections where like I'm really interested in what's going on and really into the scene and I'm like invested in it, and then like it'll just do something that takes me out of the book and I'm just like, so frustrated with this book, you know what I mean? So as of right now, it's feeling like about a 3-star book to me, because some parts of it I'm like, yeah, 4 stars, 5 stars, and then some parts of it I'm like, this is so stupid, like I said yesterday. Very hot and cold with that book. I continued on with The Fate of the Tearling this morning. I'm liking it a lot more than I was yesterday. I don't know what was up with me yesterday. I guess I was just like, maybe I was in a bad mood or something. I don't know, but I'm actually really into the story right now. I think part of it was like the entire series, I thought it was going to be more about Kelsey, and in the second book, Invasion of the Tearling, it introduces another character named Lily, and I was really intrigued with Lily's storyline and all of that, because her storyline connected like the past to the present, which was interesting to me. But in The Fate of the Tearling, there's a new character named Katie, and with her storyline, I'm not as interested in it because I already know the connection, so I wasn't as interested in Katie's storyline. There's like some mysteries going on now though that I'm really excited about, and I'm really excited to see where it's going. So I'm gonna go back to listening to the audiobook, and I will check in with you guys probably after my drive. It's still Wednesday. It's pretty late now. I'm going to be going to sleep soon. Earlier today, I finished the audiobook for The Fate of the Tearling by Erika Johansson. I enjoyed most of this book, but I really didn't like the way that it ended. I liked the action going into it, but the way that it ended, it just changed like the entire atmosphere of the book for me. What I really loved about this series was how down to earth the political and social situation was and how real it felt. It had more of a fantastical ending that I didn't appreciate that much. So I like the series overall. I still think like overall as a series, it's kind of like a 4-star series to me. But this last book, it's more of a 3.5 star for me. So I did enjoy this one. I was like a little iffy about the beginning. I really didn't like the ending, but I did really enjoy the middle of this book. So that's why I gave it 3.5 stars. Later this evening, I finished Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I think I was mentioning earlier that I was very hot and cold about this book. I either really loved it while I was reading it or really hated it while I was reading it. The ending though, I was very the opposite. I didn't really care very much for the ending. Like, it wasn't that I didn't want to care for it. I wanted to care for it because it did have a lot of action. It did have some really good twists, and the characters didn't have enough time to make stupid decisions, thank God. So like, we didn't have to worry about like the characters being stupid or anything, but I just didn't get the detail from it to really just get into the story towards the end. So like, I liked it, but I didn't really enjoy it as much as I wanted to, even though like it is a very action-packed ending. I was reading it and I just felt my mind wandering off, and I'm just like, wait, hold on, I'm reading something, and then I would like go back a couple pages so that I can actually like get what I was doing, which I don't know if it's like my fault or if by the end I was just kind of ready to be done with the book. But I ended up giving this one 3 stars because this book has so much potential. I feel like it just has so much potential, and I just don't like the way that it was executed, if that makes sense. That's really all I have for you guys. Oh, I did start a new audiobook. So after I finished The Fate of the Tearling, like I was in the middle of something. I just needed to pick an audiobook quickly, so I didn't really want to think about it very much. So I decided to pick just the shortest audiobook that I had borrowed from my library, just so that I would be done with it soon and I could pick a new audiobook tomorrow when I'm actually ready to listen to audiobooks. So I ended up picking Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, and I have the version that's narrated by Jim Dale, which is why I ended up borrowing this book from the library, because Jim Dale is one of my favorite audiobook narrators. I have read this book before because I had to read it for a children's literature class in college, but I don't remember very much like about the book itself. I remember like things like the cake that said eat me and like the drink that said drink me. Like I remember things like that, but I'm a little bit more than halfway through it now, and I found that I'm really enjoying it. Like, I like the absurdism, I really like the kind of like the whimsical nature of the story, and I really like Alice as a character, which is kind of weird. Like, I didn't really think about her before, like, the first time I read the book, but like now I'm just like, ah, that is such a little girl. Like, that's totally what I would have been like when I was little if like these things were happening. So yeah, I really enjoyed Alice. So far I'm liking it. Also, like, I'm biased towards Jim Dale's narration, so it's a good audiobook. Let's just put it that way. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm probably going to finish it tomorrow because there's only like an hour left in it. It's Thursday, September 26th, and last night I finished Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I love the audiobook. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed the book itself. Like, it was really interesting. I love the whimsical nature of it. I love the writing. So I ended up giving it 5 stars because it was just like the best experience I've had reading in like the last couple of weeks. So yeah, interesting, but I really, really enjoyed it, even though it was like only a 2-hour audiobook. After I finished that audiobook, I decided to pick up City in the Middle of the Night by Charlie Jean Anders. I'd hoped to read this one physically, but I still have a couple physical books that I don't have access to audiobooks for the Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon. Yes, I am finally getting back to that. So I decided to just pick up the audiobook for this one because this is my team book, which I've been meaning to read. I was excited for this one because it's set on an entirely black planet, which means one side of the planet faces the sun all the time, one side of the planet always faces away from the sun, so one side is always day, one side is always night, and I was really excited for that because that's just an interesting concept that I've always wanted to see played out in fiction, and I haven't seen it before, and so I was really excited for the world of this novel. I wanted to see the world building, I wanted to see more about that, and I was immediately disappointed. Like, this is very character focused. It has such an interesting world concept that I was hoping to get more of the world, and then like the entire beginning is just all character, very little world building. There is like a tiny bit of world building. Like, there's one creature called, they call it a crocodile, that we meet at some point, and like there are a couple plants here and there that are talked about. It's not a whole lot of world building at all. There's not very much description. There's very little details. Like, it's not what I wanted it to be. And I don't like the characters yet. The main character, Sophie, I don't like her. That's like, it's like nothing, not even that much has happened, but I already know I don't like her just because like the way she talks and stuff like that. The thing that turned me off first, I think, was there's this teapot that is a communal teapot. Her and her roommate take the teapot into the room often because apparently they're the ones that use it the most. And she gets really snide about how like someone sometimes sneaks into the room and grabs the teapot and puts it back in its right place because that's where it's technically supposed to be. But like, it's a communal teapot. You use it, you put it back. Like, that's how I would do it. But she's like snide about how like people aren't happy that she takes the teapot, which she's doing something that's wrong anyway. Anyways, that's like such a little pet peevey thing, but like it annoyed me, and then I just started seeing other like little aspects of her character like that. I'm not a fan. We'll see how this goes, because right now, if it wasn't the team book and I wasn't reading it for the readathon, I probably would have DNF'd it almost immediately just because it wasn't what I was expecting it to be when I picked it up, and it's not what I wanted it to be. I'm trying to keep an open mind and read it for what it is rather than what I wanted it to be. We'll see how that goes. So I'm so excited about this. I bought a book tree for this like little empty corner that's next to my bookshelves over here, and it just arrived today, and I'm so excited. I'm gonna be putting it together for you guys. Hopefully I can make this part of the vlog. We'll see how that goes. I don't know how that's gonna work out. I'm so excited for this. My idea behind this book tree is that kind of be like my TBR shelf, because I don't currently have a TBR shelf. So I would put books that I physically own that I haven't read yet that I want to read sometime soon on the book tree. And I think like the higher branches of the book tree will have like the books that I plan to read like this week and next week, and I'll work my way down to the lower branches, which are books that maybe I'll read in 6 months or even next year or whatever. I'm pretty excited for this. So let's get building. Together. I really like how it looks. I'm a little sad because there's like some like white spots and stuff because I put the outward facing side down as I was putting it together. Hopefully those scuff marks will go away though. So I'm pretty excited to have a TBR shelf. So it's time to put some books on it. Books that are on my shelves. This is not all the unread books on my shelves. These are just the ones that I'm probably the most excited for. The top are the ones that I'm hoping to get to next month. We'll see. They'll probably be on my October TBR. And then it just keeps going down for how excited I am for it. Except for these, of course. I'm super excited for those. They just didn't fit really well on this shelf over here. I'm pretty excited for this. I might have to change this up a little bit. This will definitely help me know when I have too many books that I have unread that I need to start reading, and when I could start buying more books because all my unread books are disappearing because they're going on the regular shelf. So I'm excited for this. I'm like really, really excited for this. So I finished City in the Middle of the Night by Charlie June Anders. The only thing that I really liked about this book was the relationship. I thought it had a very interesting, complex relationship, but that's all. Like, I didn't like any of the characters. Like, none of them were people that I would like, even though, like, this was a very character-driven story. So I think that's really hurt me overall. The world building was okay. Like, there was one aspect of the world building that I really, really liked, which was the crocodiles. Let's just put it that way. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then it's something that you can read when you get into this book. But other than that, I didn't really care for the world building. I felt like it could have been so much better than it was, and it was just not detailed. It had so much potential that just wasn't there. And then, like, plot-wise, I was completely bored by the plot the entire way through. So yeah, didn't end up enjoying this one as much as I was hoping to. So I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars. And the main reason is because there are some things I liked. There wasn't anything that I really hated. Yes, I didn't like the characters, but like they were still good characters. I just didn't have a whole lot of opinions on it overall in general. So that's why I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. Since I finished that audiobook, I decided to pick up The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. This is my unwrapped book for this week. It's Thursday, so I need to finally get to this one because I need to read at least 50% of it before the end of Saturday in order to keep this book. And oh my gosh, this book starts out so intensely, like super intense, the beginning of this book. Definitely trigger warnings for rape and sexual assault if that's something that bothers you, but like really good so far. Like, oh my gosh. I've heard this book was really good, but like I didn't expect to be drawn into it that quickly. So it's Friday, September 27th. I made quite a bit of progress on The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. I'm about halfway through it now. So this book started out so strong. It started out so strong. And dare I say it, most of what I've read since like the last time I checked in with you guys has been quite boring. I want to see where this book is going. Like I'm still intrigued by it, but I haven't really cared very much about what is actually going on in the book itself. Like the mystery is not intriguing to me because, I mean, we know who did it. Like, it's obvious. That's like one of the first things we find out is who did it. So yeah, I don't know. This one's not as intriguing to me as I was really hoping from that like really strong start. I don't know what's wrong with me. This last couple of weeks, or I think it's just this last week really, I've just been having like not a great reading week. So this has been a weird vlog. I haven't made any progress on Lagoon yet, so I'm going to prioritize this today and try and finish it today because I have about 80 or so pages left to read. So I'm gonna go do that and I'll check in with you guys later. Some parts of this book, and then other parts, it's not that I disliked it, I just didn't particularly like it, if you know what I mean. I enjoyed the writing in this book. It had some like hints of horror to this book, which I actually kind of enjoyed when I felt that, but then there were other parts that were definitely more towards the sci-fi part, which was interesting because generally I like sci-fi more than horror, but I liked the horror aspects of this book more than the sci-fi aspects, which is weird. Maybe it's just my mood or something like that. I didn't really like the characters very much. There are some characters I truly hated, as not just people, but as characters as well, just because most of the characters I didn't understand their motivations for what they did in this book. A lot of these characters were very bad people that I would not like if I met them in real life, and I didn't understand why they were the way that they were. I thought that the plot was fine, like I enjoyed the plot, but I wasn't like super into it or anything like that. Like I said, I've been reading this book for like 2 weeks now, and it's less than 300 pages. Like I should have finished this in like a day or two if I was really into it. So I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. So I'm giving this book 3 stars. I just finished filming my October TBR, and I have to say, I love my TBR shelf. It makes filming TBRs so much easier. Like you have no idea how much just having this right here made it so much easier to just find the books for my TBR. And I feel like before I would waste like so much time trying to find books on the shelves, and they were just right here. So filming it just like it went so much quicker than it normally would. I decided to just pop in and let you guys know that because it's amazing and love my new shelf. So it's Saturday, September 28th. Yesterday I finished The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. This book started out so strong, so strong. And then there's a scene near the end also, which I really liked, but literally everything else I was very meh about. Like, I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, I didn't really care very much. So I ended up giving this one 3 stars. 3 stars over the 2.5 stars that I would normally give for a book that I just didn't care that much about because of the strong start. The strong start was so good, and I wish like it had that intensity at least a few more times throughout the book, but like it never went there, which made me a little disappointed. But overall, I ended up giving this one 3 stars. Reading is looking up a little bit though. I didn't have a reading slump. Like I wouldn't call it a slump because I was still reading. I just wasn't liking very much of what I was reading. But after I finished that audiobook, I decided to pick up the audiobook for A Million Worlds with You by Claudia Grant. I recently finished 10,000 Skies Above You, and I've been really excited to get to the 3rd book in this series because the way the 2nd book ends, like it's just really good. And I'm like a quarter of the way into the audiobook now, and I'm really enjoying this audiobook. Like really enjoying it. So I'm definitely excited to be in this one. I'm not enjoying it as much as the 2nd book, and that's because the romance is a much bigger part of the plot in the 3rd book, at least so far, than it is in the 2nd book. But things have just happened that like I'm really excited to see where this is going. Like really excited for it. So yes. I don't want to say too much about like the plot or anything just because like spoilers, because this is the 3rd book in a series, but yeah, it's good so far. And last night, I finally picked up my last book for the Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon, which is Origin by Jessica Korey. This is my book for South America. Yes, I realize this is an American author. I think she's an American author. Yeah, she writes in Georgia. But the book is set in the Amazon rainforest, which is interesting, and it counts, okay? I understand it's not own voices, but there's only so much you can do. So yes, this one definitely counts, and I'm really excited to continue on with this one. Last night, like surprisingly, I started reading it and I kind of lost time a little bit, like just while I was reading it, and I looked at the page, I'm like, I'm on page like 100 and something now. I've probably been reading for at least an hour, and it didn't feel like I had been reading for that long. So yes, I'm definitely enjoying this, and I'm gonna continue on with this now, and I might finish it today. We'll see. There's quite a bit left of the book, but if I continue reading it the way I was last night, then there's a good chance I could finish this one today. And A Million Worlds with You. Let's just be real. Audiobooks are so easy to finish too quickly. Origin. I'm right there, almost done with it now. I have been really enjoying this. I've been getting kind of Twilight vibes from this, which is odd, but it's set in the Amazon rainforest, so it's similar to the setting that in Breaking Dawn, when they go on their honeymoon, they're on an island off the coast of Brazil. So it's kind of like the similar setting, and then like there's natives that they are talking to, and there are like these myths of immortals and things like that. So that's why like I'm getting that vibe from it. but then there's also a romance in here that reminds me a lot of like the Twilight dynamic also. So it's definitely more romantic focused than I would typically read, but I'm definitely enjoying it, which is interesting. I'm getting through this one a lot faster than I was expecting to. Like I was expecting this one to take a while the way Lagoon did. It's YA, so like it's easy to read, and I'm actually really drawn into the story. So I'm definitely enjoying this. The only thing that's holding me back from continuing on with that one faster is A Million Words with You, because this is my audiobook right now, and like I want to read the book physically. Like I've been forcing myself to not pick up this one physically and only listen to the audiobook, but then like I found myself just listening to the audiobook and doing nothing because this book has so much action in it. Like right now, I thought the second book had a lot of action. This one has way more action than the second book did, and it's fantastic, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, I'm gonna take a little break from Origin right now. I've gotten pretty far into it and spend a little time doing some other stuff and listening to the audiobook for A Million Worlds with You. There's a good chance I might end up finishing both of these today, just because I've been really enjoying both of them. So it's Saturday evening and I finished A Million Words with You by Claudia Grant. I really enjoyed this. There was a moment there where I thought the ending was gonna go a certain way and I didn't like where it was going, and then it didn't go that way, and I'm really happy that it didn't. So yeah, for me, I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. I really love the concept of it, and I really ended up enjoying it. So this is one that like, I kind of want to read more by this author. She did such a good job with this book. I feel like there's more books by her that I'll end up really liking. And then I've also made quite a bit of progress with Origin. I'm very close to the end now, so there's only like less than 100 pages, like about 50 pages, not even 50 pages left in this book, and I'm enjoying it so far. I kind of like where it's going. The only thing about this book that's a little disappointing is that the author had the opportunity to make an amazing character arc, and I like where the character is now, but I felt like they could have started out a lot darker. Like just the way this book is set up, that character could have started out super dark and made the redemption arc like so good. It wasn't there at the beginning, but I do really like the way this is going and I'm enjoying it. I probably will finish it tonight, and if I do, then I'll insert the clip where I finish it right here. I finished Origin by Jessica Korey. I really enjoyed this a lot more than I was expecting to. I don't know what I was expecting going into it, but like this is like a solidly built book. Like I really like the way that it was written. I like kind of the reveals that happen. I even liked the romance, which I mean, the whole point of this book was the romance basically. It was basically a romantic sci-fi. Like I mentioned before, it gave me a lot of like Twilight feels, but it's like a reverse Twilight, if that makes sense. Like in almost every way, it's like in a reverse Twilight. And I enjoyed that. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. So before signing off from this vlog, I'm gonna have to unwrap my book for next week. So I grabbed one of my unwrapped books. It's pretty big, it's hardcover. I'm a little nervous, but we'll see what it is. So I got The Rithmatist by Brandon Sanderson. I am intrigued by this. I don't know what this is about. Apparently it's his YA debut novel, so Elantris was his adult fantasy debut novel, so this was his first YA novel. This one is fantasy though, so there's a good chance that I might end up liking this one. So I'm actually really excited for this because Brandon Sanderson is one of my favorite authors, and I'm honestly not sure why this ended up in the pile. So hopefully I'll end up liking this. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I post frequently in this channel, so consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!